So what are some of the biggest mistakes that preppers make? Well, let's take a look at a few of them. One of them is loose lips sink ships. You don't want to tell people the extent of your preps. You don't want to be telling people, oh yes, I've got, bragging about how many swimming pools you have filled and caches you have dug, and how your basement is stacked so high that it's coming out your chimney with food and supplies and all that other stuff. Some people say it's because of the marauders, and somewhat, yeah, sure. We're just going to take a look at the marauder situation as well. Marauders are people who get desperate. They didn't prepare well enough, or they may have planned it. And most of the time, it's going to be people who just get desperate and are going to go after whatever they can get, whatever they think they can get. So if you were talking about this, bragging loud, and let's say that you talked about it in your community, and then you went and talked about it just while you're talking to people in your community, you also happen to say it nearby to somebody who is from a neighboring community. As things break down, people start to group together and that's where they end up with those bands of marauders, and they start to come up with their plans. Hey, I think we can get some food here. Why don't we forage? Why don't we, we can't garden because we didn't have seeds. Oh, we can't really forage. We don't really have anything nearby us to get. Oh, you know what? I heard about this one guy who has food coming out of his chimney. Oh. Well, now that community is now looking for, that group is now looking for your food. If that's that person that overheard it from a couple towns over, their group that grouped around that person is now headed your way, and any other groups that they come across may like the tale and may decide to join, and you could end up with a very large horde. Maybe they will ask nicely, maybe they will knock like a tank. Who knows? But you don't want to find out. The other reason, though, that I say that loose lips sink ships is you don't want to make the same mistake that many governments on many levels throughout the world make. They tell people, we've got all these preparations. We got warehouses of food, so that way if there's an emergency, we can help you out. And what does that lead to? That leads to people deciding not to be prepared to help themselves out. When something goes wrong, then when something goes wrong that interferes with the person who's expected to help, with their ability to help out, who they said that they were planning on helping out, then that person who didn't prepare is left out. Let's say FEMA can't get to the community. We say Federal Emergency Management Administration here in the United States. They oftentimes help out wherever they can. We got a lot of charities that come on out. And a lot of people just figure they're going to be there. So a lot of people don't prepare. So their ships are sunk before they even were started. They decided not to prepare. And now, it was because they were told, yes, they're expected to be there. Well, the disaster wiped out their road and made it difficult to land any helicopters or whatever it be. Maybe the helicopters are grounded during the event. And these people are now underprepared. They're not able to handle that. You don't want to tell your neighbors, yes, I'm planning on this, and then turn around and find out, oh, you can't. All of your family came on in, and they ate all your food that you were planning on giving some out to your neighbors for. It's great to have a plan to help out your neighbors and help out all these people. But giving out the extent of that is not a good idea because of, yeah, the marauder situation and the situation here that people will decide, well, I'm not really going to prepare. So it creates both of those. They figure you've got it covered. And then if something goes wrong with you, something goes wrong with your stash, it was an earthquake and it broke all your jars, well, you don't have food for them. If they had prepared as well, they may have also had it in buckets that may have survived the earthquake. If you're the only one with something around, you're probably not going to last very long, which is where this next one comes in. Zipped lips don't launch ships. Yeah, that's kind of a take on the last one, but being too quiet. This is a mistake that I see with a lot of preppers. Not letting anyone know how to prepare. Not letting them know that, hey, it's great to, yeah, sure, I prepare. This is how you can your food. This is how I preserve this. They don't need to see your whole, that's the first one. You don't want them to see your whole basement full of rice, but to see how you preserve rice would be very useful. Then they can copy that, or they can build on that, and they might be able to teach you something that you didn't realize before. By spreading that information around, at least the how-tos can help. Telling people, how do you jar your food? How do you take care of your cans? How do you manage your inventory? Stuff of that nature. Because if you don't teach them that, if you learn it and you teach what you know and someone else learns it and teaches what they know, the community can learn in just a few days and can have all the rest of the time to prepare everything that they need. But if everyone's quiet and in their own corner and doesn't talk, then everyone has to learn it all on their own, and they all have to make the same mistakes and have the same waste. And many people will never even get started without help. So when you're the only one with food on your block, you're not going to last very long. And don't stock more than your house can bear. Like that last example, stacking it up to where it was coming up through the chimney. It is kind of nice to have your chimney able to expel smoke without cooking your rice. Make sure that you have enough room to store it. Make sure you're not buying more than you will eat before it expires. Don't buy more than you can use. Make sure that you can eat it before it expires. Make sure you're not wasting it. Make sure that you have the ability to store it. You don't want to buy a bunch of meat that you were planning on canning. Plan your purchases. You don't want to buy a whole bunch of meat that you're planning on canning and then find out that you don't have lids to can them. Properly calculate how long you can last. A lot of people think here, I've got a 2-year food supply, when the truth is they probably got a 4-month food supply. Figure out, and I have a video on, actually on both of these last two, I actually have separate videos on don't stock more than your house can bear. It's not quite titled that way, but it does talk about limits to that and calculating how long you will last on things as well. How much should you be stocking? I do have videos on those too. Properly calculate that, because you don't want to sit there and think you've got 2 years to get your crops growing and you're out of food in 4 months. Make sure what you have will meet your plan. Testing and practice makes perfect. Test out what you learn. Test out, make sure here that it's not some untested plan that, sure, you've got a whole pile of cans and you've never eaten any of them. You don't know how your body's going to react to it, and you forgot to get a can opener. And because you didn't even practice eating them once, you didn't realize you don't have any way of getting into any of your cans. Test it, practice it, make it perfect. So, saying too much is a problem. Saying too little is a problem. Stocking too much is a problem. Stocking too little can be a problem. It's all a balance in here, and testing and practice can make it all perfect. Thank you for watching.